In February 1995, one of the oldest and most respected banks in the world was sold for £1. Not 1 billion, 1 single pound sterling. Barings Bank had stood for 233 years. It had financed the Napoleonic Wars. It had helped the United States buy Louisiana from France. It counted the Queen of England among its clients. And it was destroyed in a matter of weeks by a single 28-year-old trader on the other side of the world, betting money the bank did not know it was losing. The astonishing part is not that one man could lose so much. It is that the bank let the same man place the bets and then check his own work. This is a story about the most basic control in all of finance and what happens when it simply is not there. Barings was founded in London in 1762. For most of its history, it was not a bank for ordinary people. It was a merchant bank, an institution that financed trade, governments, and great projects. Its reputation was its capital. By the early 1990s, Barings was looking for growth in the fast-moving derivatives markets of Asia, and it sent young, ambitious staff to build that business. One of them was Nick Leeson. Leeson had grown up outside London, the son of a plasterer. He was clever, driven, and good with the back-office mechanics of trading, the settlement work that confirms and records deals after they are struck. Barings sent him to Singapore in 1992 to help run its operation on the Singapore International Monetary Exchange, known as SIMEX. Here is where the fatal decision was made. In Singapore, Leeson was given 2 jobs that should never belong to the same person. He was the head trader on the floor, placing orders. He was also the head of the back office, the unit that settles and checks those same trades. In a properly run bank, these 2 functions are kept strictly apart. The traders take the risks. A separate independent team confirms what actually happened and reports it up the chain. That separation is called segregation of duties, and it exists for one reason. If the person taking the risk is also the person keeping the score, there is nothing to stop the score from being a lie. Leeson's official job was low risk. He was supposed to profit from tiny price differences in the same futures contract trading in 2 markets at once, in Singapore and in Osaka, Japan. Buy in one, sell in the other, capture the small gap. It is called arbitrage, and done correctly, it carries almost no market risk. That is the business Barings in London believed he was running. He was not running it. Leeson began taking large, unauthorized bets that the market would move in a particular direction. When those bets lost, he needed somewhere to hide the losses, and because he controlled the back office, he had a place ready. He opened an error account, a type of account normally used to park small clerical mistakes until they are fixed. Its number was 88888. Into that account, he swept his losing trades away from the eyes of London. Because he also produced the reports, he could show head office a stream of impressive profits while the real losses piled up in the hidden account. By the end of 1994, account 88888 concealed losses of around 370 million Singapore dollars. To keep the game running, Leeson asked London to wire him large sums, telling them the money was needed to meet margin requirements on behalf of clients. London, seeing a star trader generating what looked like huge profits, sent the money. On the 16th of January 1995, Leeson placed a large bet that the Japanese stock market would stay calm and not move sharply in either direction. In the early hours of the next morning, the great Hanshin earthquake struck the city of Kobe. It killed thousands and sent Japanese markets falling. Leeson's position was suddenly catastrophically wrong. A trader hiding losses had one rational choice, which was to stop and confess. Leeson did the opposite. He doubled down. He bought enormous positions, betting that the Nikkei index would rebound quickly. It did not. Every day the market failed to recover. His hidden losses grew. He was now committing the bank to bets far larger than Barings was worth, and only he knew it. By late February, the numbers could no longer be fed. On the 23rd of February, 1995, Nick Leeson fled Singapore, leaving a note that read, in part, "I'm sorry." He left behind losses of about £827 million, more than $1.3 billion, and roughly twice the entire capital of the bank. Barings could not cover it. On the 26th of February, the 233-year-old bank was declared insolvent. Days later, the Dutch group ING bought it for £1 and assumed its liabilities. Leeson was arrested in Germany on his way back to Europe and extradited to Singapore. In 1995, he pleaded guilty to fraud connected to deceiving the bank's auditors and the exchange. He was sentenced to 6.5 years in a Singapore prison. He served most of it, was released in 1999 after being diagnosed with colon cancer, and later rebuilt a public life as a speaker on risk. But the official inquiry did not let the bank hide behind the word rogue. Britain's Board of Banking Supervision investigated the collapse and reached a blunt conclusion. Barings failed because it allowed one person to control both the trading and the settlement of his own deals, and because senior managers did not understand the business well enough to ask the right questions. The losses were Leeson's. The opening was the bank's. Here is the lesson: stripped down. Segregation of duties is not paperwork. It is the recognition that no single person should be able to both create a risk and verify it. The moment Barings gave Leeson both roles, it removed the one check that could have caught him early, when the hidden losses were small enough to survive. Everything after that, the earthquake, the doubling down, the fall, was just the size of the hole growing. This is the quietest failure in our series and in some ways the most important because it requires no genius and no grand conspiracy. It requires only convenience. Splitting duties costs money. It means hiring a second person, slowing things down, trusting a process instead of a star. Barings chose the cheaper path, and a bank that survived 2.5 centuries did not survive it. The control that would have saved it was not complicated. It was simply the rule that the person taking the risk can never be the person who keeps the score.